After more than 60 years of trying to seek justice over a massacre of rubber tappers in Batang Kali by British soldiers, an attempt to have the Queen and her government hold a public inquiry on the matter have failed. 60 years after the incident and a memorandum to Queen Elizabeth and the British government, the Batang Kali Massacre Action Committee described the official response from the former colonial masters as very disappointing. This was despite statements given by the soldiers involved and also a British Broadcasting Corporation documentary aired in 1992 that interviewed soldiers and Malaysian eyewitnesses of the December 12, 1948 incident, which left 24 unarmed Malaysian Chinese men dead. The men between the ages of 18 and 50 were allegedly shot from behind. 13 surviving families, which have come together under the Batang Kali Action Committee, have sought an official apology, monetary compensation, and a memorial in honor of the massacred. They have also sought an independent public inquiry over the incident.
The Action Committee condemning the Batang Kali massacre has submitted a petition on 25th March and followed by a memorandum on 12 December 2008 to Her Majesty Queen of United Kingdom. And we have received their reply on the 21st January 2009. And in their reply, they claims that they have carefully considered our petition and conclude that in view of the finding of 2 previous investigations, that there was insufficient evidence to pursue prosecution in this case, and in the absence of any new evidence, regrettable, we see no reason to reopen or start a fresh investigation. This was what being stated by the British government letter. And it is understood that the 2 previous investigations refer to the 1949 and the 1970 investigations. And we are disappointed and absolutely not convinced with the British government reply, because the British government has not taken into account the inherent, unsatisfactory and incomplete nature of the previous 2 investigations. Instead, the British government has taken into account an irrelevant consideration of pursuing criminal prosecution, which is not intended and demanded by the surviving families of the massacre. For the 1949 investigation, there were 4 sworn statements from the soldiers involved confirming that they had misled that investigation. The soldier admitted that there was an intentional killing, and also the civilians were unarmed and they were not trying to escape. The sworn statement, as far as we know, were not rebutted, and therefore they stand good in law. As such, the credibility of this 1949 investigation is in doubt. As for the 1970 investigation, the then Director of Public Prosecutions, who had instructed to halt the 1970 investigation prematurely, admitted that there was a substantial conflict of evidence amongst the soldiers involved, and no statement or interview was ever taken from the Malaysian witnesses, such as Chong Fong, being the survivor of the massacre, and his wife, Tam Yong. In addition, no process of body exhumation and forensic examination were ever conducted, and therefore we submitted that the 1970 investigation is incomplete and certainly inconclusive. In view of the above, we can't help but to conclude that the British government has failed to read and consider our petitions carefully and with due weight. They have used their standard reply, which is the 1970 standard format reply, which is obviously outdated. We have the statements from the Malaysian eyewitnesses, and further, the remains of the massacre were lying at the cemetery at Uluyam, Batang Kali. And these are credible witness evidence for the case which have never been considered by the British authority. And we have checked with the surviving families, and we must be very clear again and again that the family are not seeking any criminal trial of the soldier involved. They are requesting instead a thorough and an independent investigation via the setting up of a public inquiry so that the historical truth can be discovered. The surviving families who lost their breadwinners for the past 60 years have been living in a dismayed plight, and it is only reasonable for them to demand an official apology, reasonable compensation, and construction of a memorial for their loved ones from the authority who had committed the atrocity. And the family members have instructed their lawyers in UK, Bymans LLP, to write a formal letter to the British government, which is known as pre-action protocol letter. And this letter will set out the reasons why we think that the British government decision is unlawful, and we invite them to reconsider their position before we ensue with a legal action. And meanwhile, the Action Committee will be seeking a meeting with the Malaysian representative of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Associations, and the chairperson is Tan Sri Shafi Ada, for purpose of persuading the Malaysian MP to seek redress for the surviving families within the Commonwealth framework and network. And we sincerely hope that in the interest of both UK and Malaysian community, the British government will accede to the request of setting up a public inquiry on this Batang Kali massacre.